Hello, hello, hello. How are we going? Welcome back to Football Forum. Plenty to chat about again today. Looking forward to getting into it. So, hope everyone is doing well first and foremost. And give me 2 seconds. I better shut this up. That's going to be annoying if that goes off again. Yeah, so I hope you're all doing well. Like I said, plenty to chat about. We've got like a Premier League roundup and some other news stories from around the footballing world. And then whatever you guys want to talk about, really. So, if you're here, like I see, we've got a few people watching already, which is fantastic. Say hi, give us a like, let us know you're about so I can see who's here and we can have a chat. So, it's good to see you guys again, and we'll get into it. So, first, another good weekend of the Premier League. Some good results, some ones that, well, there wasn't too many surprises, I suppose, but yeah, we'll get into it. I've got my notes here, so that's why I keep looking down, just in case you're wondering. So first game, Newcastle Leeds. For anyone that remembers last stream, I'm pretty confident. I predicted a draw here, and that was the case. So Newcastle 1, Leeds 1, and an okay game. I think for the most part, Leeds will be a little bit upset they couldn't go and get a win against a Newcastle that didn't have their main striker. Again, Newcastle played all right. They done well, and considering they're missing their main man up front, they'll be fairly happy with the result, even though it was at home. It was a decent game. Rafinha opened the scoring for Leeds, and the absolute man, myth, and legend that is Alan Saint-Maximin is the guy that scored the equaliser just before the half. So, decent game. I mean, as far as shots are concerned, Leeds absolutely bombarded the goal. Had plenty of shots. Not so many on target, which is probably where they're falling short. But yeah, a decent game from both teams, and a sort of fair result, really, given how it all played out. So, 1-1 there. In the next game, we had Wolves-Brentford. Now, here's the big shocker, actually. I did tell a lie, not too many massive shocks, but Brentford 2-0 over Wolves. Big surprise. Especially considering they also got a red card as well, and they still managed to hold on to a 2-0 win. So, Ivan Toney opened the scoring, 27th minute from a penalty, and in the 33rd minute, Mbumo scored the second goal. It sort of just came from Wolves making errors more than anything else, two rather silly Wolves mistakes. Brentford punished them on both accounts. And then when you look at the flip side of that, obviously Brentford made some mistakes, got a red card, and Wolves were just unable to make them capitalise. And it's kind of a telling story. The red card was around the 60th minute off the top of my head. And so Wolves had half an hour to try and rescue something from the game, and it just didn't come off for them. So, and given that was the case, I mean, they did dominate the ball, to be fair to Wolves. They did have a lot of possession, and yeah, they put together a lot of passes and held the ball well, but it didn't really amount to anything in the long run. And Brentford come away with another sort of big scalp, really, considering what they would have come into the season expecting. So a really good result for Brentford there. Not so much for Wolves. So if Steve's around, Stephen Birch, I bet you're not too happy with that one. But yeah, Wolves just punished for their own mistakes and then unable to punish Brentford for theirs. So a very disappointing outing for Wolves. Norwich-Watford. Norwich are off to a shocking start, and I'm really quite surprised to see how hard they're struggling with it all, to be honest. So Norwich, 5 games, 5 losses. They're the only team in the Premier League now that doesn't have a point. And Watford come out and beat them 3-1. A brace from Sarr. Decent performance from Watford. Pookie got the scores level. So Dennis scored very early on. I want to say the first 10-15 minutes. Pookie come along, equalised. roughly 20 minutes later, and they go into the half at 1-1, and you think maybe this is going to be a fairly decent show. But no, in the second half, Watford came out, controlled the game quite well, scored that double. Sarr scores that double, and they come away 3-1 winners. So Norwich's troubles are not getting any easier. Bottom of the table, no points. And from what I've seen, the few times I've watched Norwich, they just don't seem to be blending as a unit. So I think they've got the quality of player there to be doing better than they are. They just don't seem to have the chemistry, I guess is probably the word. They're not looking too well organised as a unit, and not too sure what each other are doing and that sort of stuff, and that's where they're falling short. So some serious pressure is going to be mounting there, and we'll see if they're able to turn it around. Arsenal managed to pull off their second win in a row in the Premier League, 1-0 win over Burnley. Not exactly an astounding result. I did say I think Burnley can go there, can get a win, especially at home. Arsenal do manage to pull off the win in the end with an Odegaard free kick, and it was a very nice free kick, to be fair. It was a very well struck free kick. And Arsenal sort of creeping back up to that full strength squad that they had won out on the pitch. So really, with the players they had out there, they would have been expecting to go and win that game. I mean, as far as shots are concerned, Burnley actually put more shots on, and played fairly well. A little bit maybe unlucky to lose 1-0. Both teams had the same amount of shots on target, but Burnley took more shots overall. But again, good free kick from Arsenal, good win. And we're now in a position where if Arsenal win next weekend and Tottenham lose, Arsenal will jump Tottenham. And Tottenham won their first 3 games of the season. So if you go back sort of to round 3, you wouldn't be expecting to be talking about Arsenal jumping Tottenham 2 weeks later. So signs that the ship is steadying at Arsenal. They haven't really played anyone decent. Like, they haven't won against anyone decent, really. But they seem to be steadying the ship. We'll see how that plays out. Liverpool, another really convincing win. Another really good example of why I had them down as favourites at the start of the season. They come out, 3-0 win against Palace. More impressive given how Palace played the week before against Tottenham. The absolute dismantling of Tottenham. So Palace coming off a really, really good result, full of confidence, and looking really good. Looking really, really good in that game against Tottenham. Coming out to Liverpool at Anfield and just getting dismantled. Mane scores his 100th goal for Liverpool, so I'm sure you would have seen or heard about that by now. Salah again on the scoreboard, and Nketiah rounding it off in the 88th minute. A pretty stock standard result, a pretty good performance from Liverpool. They dominated in all areas, dominated possession, dominated shots, and comfortably with a better team on the day. So a really good, strong result from Liverpool there, and I'm sure any Liverpool supporters out there watching will be absolutely rapt with that. Another bit of a shock, sort of a bit of a shock after Pep's commentary in the week about requiring more fans at the ground for the Southampton game. It's come out as a 0 draw, and again, questions around, can City maintain a charge without a striker? And again, loads and loads of opportunities created in this game. Loads and loads and loads of opportunities created. City absolutely dominated the ball. Comfortably the better team. Absolutely no doubt about it. There's 16 shots, only 1 on target. And that's where this question starts creeping in about this striker. And can City maintain their title without a striker? And you'd have to think coming into January now, a striker would have to be their main priority, given the games they've struggled in. It's been like this, where they've dominated the ball, they've dominated possession, they've got the shots, they're creating the chances, and they're just not getting the finishing. So I would imagine City, coming into January, will be hitting that transfer window quite hard, really, really wanting to get their hand on a striker, and a prolific striker at that. They need someone that can start putting that ball in the net for them. So It's not ideal for City. It'll put them a little bit further behind that sort of top three at the moment of Liverpool, Chelsea and United, with a bit of ground to make up. And I think this year is not the year where you want to be trying to make up ground. It doesn't look like a season where those sort of top 3 or 4 teams are going to drop enough points for people to start making up that gap. So it's really not an ideal start for City. They've got their work cut out for them now. And having said that, I mean, they're playing us next week, Chelsea. And having said that, it's probably not a good time for us to play them. A lot of people will be saying it's a great time to play City. I disagree. I think after a 0-0 draw with Southampton at home, Pep's going to have something to prove, and he's really going to come out, and the City team are really going to come out firing for this Chelsea game. So we'll see how we go. Villa absolutely dismantling Everton. Absolutely brilliant display. I wouldn't have predicted a 3-0 win for Villa at all. I mean, I did say they played very, very well against us the week before, especially in the first half, and I thought 3-0 was a little bit rough on them for that loss. So they did show signs of being able to take it to teams and making life hard. And I thought maybe coming into that would play a part, especially them being at home. But I didn't expect them to come out and win 3-0 against a team like Everton, who have been doing quite well on their recent run. Matty Cash and Leon Bailey with the goals. Leon Bailey, what a game, by the way. Comes on 70th or 72nd minute or somewhere around there. Scores a goal. Hang on, am I getting this right? Let me just double check my notes. Give me a second. Yeah, no, right. So Leon Bailey comes on 60th minute. It was 60th minute according to my notes. Comes on, scores a goal. Really good. Really, really good contribution to the team off the bench. Just a really good all-round performance for Villa. And the third goal, for those of you that haven't seen the game, was actually an own goal by Digne. So Villa absolutely shocked me to go out there and dominate Everton the way they did. Everton, like I said, have been on a good little run. They've been doing okay, so that'll be a bit of a disappointing result for them, and they'll be looking to rectify that real quickly and getting back into winning ways next week. Brighton have snuck into the top 4. And we had people in our first and second stream, we had people talking about Brighton being in a relegation battle. They've snuck into the top 4 with a 2-1 win over Leicester. Leicester, however, not so good at all. They're very up and down. Their results haven't been fantastic by any means. And I mean, Brighton have come along and taken full advantage at home, to be fair. But they've come along, taken full advantage and got themselves a good 2-1 win to sneak into that top 4 window. So really, really impressive result there. Welbeck on the score sheet, Mopé on the score sheet, and Vardy scoring for Leicester. But Leicester couldn't get back into that. So Brighton sneak into the top 4 with a decent result there. Before I continue, I can see there's a few more people in here. Don't forget, guys, if you are here, say hello, give us a like, all that good stuff. I can see we've got people watching. I just can't see who you are. So if you interact, I can say hello, thank you for being here and all that good stuff as well. And if there's anything you want to see me discuss or whatever, or anything you might have missed that you want me to go back over, just pop it in the chat. More than happy to chat to you that way. The show is literally catered around you guys, so you tell me what you want and we'll work it out. Moving on, West Ham United, absolute cracking game. I don't know if any of you guys saw this, but oh my days, what a game. So Ronaldo scores again. I'm sure that'll be no surprise to anyone. I'm sure everyone's heard the news. Ronaldo scored a goal. So he's on a good little run. But it was after Ben Rama got West Ham off to a 1-0 lead. And then Lingard, he comes on, scores a goal in the 88th minute. There's a whole bunch of controversy around this from here. Ronaldo looks like he gets fouled in the area. Referee calls played on. Couple of minutes later up the other end, Luke Shaw gives away a handball. Penalty to West Ham, last kick of the game. Absolute last kick of the game. They sub on Mark Noble to take the penalty. He hasn't touched the ball. He literally just comes on to take the penalty, lines it up, bang, David De Gea saves his first penalty since like 2014 or something. That's Mark Noble's only touch of the ball in the entire game. And United go and win the game 2-1. Yeah, that's what the Premier League's about. Really exciting game. Really exciting end to the game. Lingard with what looked like a late winner. Then Noble looked like he can get the late equaliser, and it was just absolute madness. West Ham will feel a bit stiff that they didn't get a point at least out of that. United will make the same argument that Ronaldo should have had a penalty up the other end anyway. So I'll let those two sets of fans fight that out. I'll stay out of it. But absolute cracking game for a neutral, and really enjoyable to see. So yeah, really good game. If you haven't seen it, well worth watching the highlights. And then finally, Chelsea-Tottenham at 3 Point Lane, as I call it, and sort of went the way I thought it was going to go for the most part. The first half, Tottenham absolutely put us under the pump, put us under a lot of pressure, played really well. Pardon me, sorry. And according to the commentators, were the more attacking team. Hey Stephen, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So Tottenham came at us pretty hard in the first half. Having said that, they didn't really create any chances that had me panicking. I wasn't worried that we were going to concede. They did look like they were up for the game, absolutely, no doubt about it, but they weren't. They were threatening without being threatening, if that makes sense. Second half, Tuchel takes off Mason Mount, brings on N'Golo Kante. Completely different game from there on. Chelsea absolutely cruised the second half. There's literally no other way to look at it. Absolutely cruised the second half. One of the easiest halves of football I've seen us play. Thiago Silva gets us off to a nice start with a goal off the corner. And then N'Golo Kante, given way too much space from about 25 yards out, has a hit, takes a deflection, goal. And then to finish it off, Rudiger. So Timo Werner makes a run down the right wing, cuts the ball back to Rudiger in the box. Nice, easy finish. 3-0 win. Could have easily been more. Could have been 5 or 6. It just looked like Tottenham didn't have any answers for us in the second half. They ran out of steam. And it honestly, in the second half, wasn't even a challenge. So Tottenham have definitely got a lot of things they need to sort out, especially given that coming into the game, it looked like they had their full-strength squad back. And they just had very, very little to offer. So not promising signs for Tottenham at all. 2 3-0 losses in a row, and they've got some work to do. Where are we? Stephen Birch, good mate. That's good. Have you got over the Wolves result yet? Andrew Kameni, hello Dean. Hey Andy, how you doing, mate? Hope you're doing all right. It's good to see you guys back in here. So anything you want me to go over, guys, or anything you've missed or anything like that, just pop it in the chat. More than happy to go over it again. Before we continue, my other little shameless plug, I am doing Run for Autism. There should be a link down in the description. So even if you just share that link around, that support is massively appreciated, guys. Just raising money for a good cause, and a cause very close to my heart. So yeah, shameless little plug there. So coming up on the show, we should potentially have our first interview / co-host sort of mix up this Thursday, ideally. So working with someone at the moment just to come on Thursday evening, 7 o'clock as normal, and chat a little bit about what they're doing in their own personal journey in football, and then they'll stick around and we'll do our normal preview and all that sort of stuff. We'll cover our team with the Dream Team theme. We'll come up with something for that today, so we can come up with that on Thursday. We'll get our guest to give us his version of that Dream Team theme. So any suggestions for that, the Dream Team theme, pop them in the chat. Um, and yeah, we'll get our guest to come up with one as well for a bit of fun. So we should have a guest this Thursday just to spice things up a little bit. And then after this weekend, I should be talking to a guy that's happy to come on as a co-host once we sort out some things. So hopefully we'll have a co-host quite regularly. And then from there, we're going to try and have a bit more of a structure as to what we're covering in a show. So maybe like a Premier League show, a Bundesliga show, and start mixing it up. So there's a bit more structure to it. So yes, over the Wolves result, Chelsea will have got Spurs angry for our cup game tomorrow night. Steve, from what I'm seeing of Spurs, mate, you haven't got too much to worry about, and I wouldn't be too surprised if you guys go there and cause them a bit of an upset. Especially given a cup game, they might put out a weaker team and hope that they can mend results coming into the weekend in the Premier League. So, but like I said, they put out their full-strength team, or pretty close to their full-strength team, and they were absolutely crap. I don't know if you watched the game, but they were... First half, they were decent. Second half, absolutely crap. There's no way to put it. But yeah, so that's the stuff we've got coming up in the show, which is kind of exciting. So we're just working on some technical stuff to hopefully have our first interview / co-host this Thursday. Keep an eye on Football Forum on Facebook for more announcements on that. And if there's any questions you would like to see asked for these guests, for sure, put them in chat, shoot them to me, whatever you like. I'd like to try and get some different questions in there, so it's not the same sort of thing you see on all the different shows. So yeah, whatever you guys can think of, give us a hit up on that. And yeah, so that should be good fun. We won't go into our preview for next week, but what we will do is I'll get my notes up for my preview on the cup games coming up this, well, I think tonight / tomorrow a lot of them start. So let me just get my notes open again. Bear with me for 2 seconds. Here we go. Let's see. Yep, so here we go. So we got, I won't start with my buys. We will start with Arsenal AFC Wimbledon. Now, listen, as bad as Arsenal have been recently, and I know they've got two 1-0 wins recently, there's no excuse for them going to Wimbledon and losing that. So I don't think we need to worry too much about that one in terms of Arsenal's result. They should go there and get a comfortable result. If they don't, Arteta needs to be kicked in the butt. Stephen Birch, too many egos at Spurs, and they do not seem to have bought into Nuno's game plan. Yeah, I tend to agree with that, Steve. And it kind of looks like hanging on to Harry Kane's bit him in the arse a bit, because Harry Kane he's not the same player. I mean, with 4 or 5 games in, he hasn't scored a goal. He doesn't look like scoring a goal. He did very, very little against us. I mean, at one point, he was just in front of his back four. Just in front of his back four with the ball being pressed. So, yeah, I thought the way Spurs went around the game was really weird. It looked like they tried to have Heung-min Son isolate Thiago Silva, whether that was for pace or whatever else. But Thiago Silva's experience just absolutely shone through, and they picked the wrong target, to be fair. He was absolutely dominant in defence. So I don't know what went wrong with the scouting there. They got that one all wrong. But yeah, so Arsenal AFC Wimbledon, there's not much to talk about there. Andy, what did you think of the game between Man City and Southampton? I was just talking about that before, Andy. I think it sort of brings up that same narrative that's been here for most of this pre-season / season, and that is, can City realistically mount a challenge without a striker? And, you know, they come out, they get 2-3 good results, then they get a really disappointing result like this one. And when you watch the game, they dominated the ball, as City do. Loads of possession, create loads of chances, only one shot on target. And you got to assume it comes down to just not having a good striker, a proper out-and-out striker. I think it was like 16, 17 shots or something they registered, one on target. And that's what your striker's there for. They're creating the chances. They've got the creativity with Grealish, De Bruyne, and you know, all those guys around, they've got the creativity, but they haven't got the end product, and that's what's hurting them at the moment. And the problem with that this year is I don't think you can afford to get too many points behind, because it doesn't look like Liverpool, Chelsea, or United somehow at the moment are going to drop too many points, and you don't want to be playing catch up. This is going to be one of the hardest leagues. This is going to be one of the hardest seasons to win the league. One of the hardest to win the league. And if you start falling off now, it's going to be super, super hard to make up that ground. So I think City, coming January, they need to really hit the market hard for a striker. Eddie McCullum's like the stream. Hey man, how you doing? Good to see you back in here. So EFL Cup, we get the rematch of United West Ham, which I am keen for. West Ham will feel very, very disappointed with the way that played out. They'll be eager to get some revenge there, so I will be keeping my eye on that game. That should be a good one. Tony Martino, hello bud, enjoying your pod. Hey man, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling a bit better. West Ham, Man United. Perfect timing. After that game, we get a rematch in the EFL Cup. I'm keen to see how that plays out. As Stephen was just alluding to before, Eddie McCullum Senior, Gilmore has to go back to Chelsea, learning F all at Norwich, but how to lose. Yeah, Eddie, and you can see he's getting frustrated when he's on the ball. The players aren't making the runs they need to make, and they're not moving, and it's not a good place for a young guy to be when they're turning to him to make everything work. He's there to learn. So I agree, mate. I think we should recall him and either send him out somewhere else or give him a go at Stamford Bridge, even if it's in cup games or something like that. West Ham United, too close to call for me. I'm keen to see that game. Wolves Tottenham, as Stephen was alluding to, I actually think Wolves will go there and win. Tottenham are not looking good at the moment. Got bashed by Palace 3-0, and Palace haven't been great. They were great that game, but is that because Tottenham are that poor at the moment? I guess we'll find out in this game here. Hopefully. Hopefully, what am I saying? Hopefully. I think Wolves will go there and get a good result. Tony Martini, good. Hope all is good with you and the family. Yeah, we're doing all right, mate. I've punched a hole in my shin today, so I went to work this morning and had a bit of a whoopsie and ended up at the doctor's getting my shin glued back together. So I'll be off work today and tomorrow, which is fine. It just means I'll spend some time working on some stuff for the show. But apart from that, yeah, we're doing all right. Going a bit stir crazy with lockdown, need a holiday, but it is what it is, mate. How's you and Sue going? Have you discussed the Mark Noble penalty? Tough to come on and take a high pressure pen with your first kick. Yeah, Steve, I did sort of quickly touch on that, and it sort of brings back flashbacks of the England situation where we're subbing players on just for penalties, and I'm not a fan of it. As a coach, I'm not a fan of it at all. Even when you're as experienced as Mark Noble, to come on with the last kick of the game and everything is riding on you, and you're not really, you've done your warm-up. I get you've done your warm-up, but you're not warm, you haven't got the feel for the game. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone for one moment. And De Gea made a save. It wasn't really a good penalty. It wasn't straight down the middle, but it's a good height for the keeper, and it's not far enough into the side. I feel sorry for Mark Noble. He'll get the stick for it, but really for me, that's just poor management, poor game management. There's other people on that team that can hit a penalty, so I don't know why all the pressure's piled on one guy for one kick. It's a bit of a poor decision in my opinion. Next game, Millwall Leicester. Leicester have been in shocking form at the moment. Stephen Birch, Wolves Spurs game is at Molineux. Correct, Steve. It is. Did I say you'd go there? My bad. So Wolves at home with Spurs in current form. I actually think you guys will nick a result there. It's not exactly called nicking a result when they're playing that badly, though, is it? To be fair. But anyway, Millwall, Leicester. Leicester have been in shocking form at the moment, so I'm not holding my breath on that one. Leicester should win. Look, Leicester should win, but I wouldn't be absolutely gobsmacked if they don't. Brighton, Swansea. I think Brighton are on a really good run at the moment. Like I've said, they've snuck into the top 4 in the Premier League. And when we were talking predictions at the start of the season, there's quite a few of the guys that follow this show had Brighton in for relegation battle. So credit to them. They've done really well. They're playing really well. I think they should get the win against Swansea, especially given that it's a home game for them. So I'm going to go Brighton win there. Queen's Park, Everton, another one where it's a bit hard to call because Everton have had a bit of a fall from grace at the moment. So their priority will be on fixing results in the Premier League. They're probably going to field a weaker team, I would imagine. Of some description, they'll field a bit of a weaker team against Queen's Park, and maybe at Queen's Park, Queen's Park could catch them. It'll be interesting to see. Again, Everton should be winning that game, but I wouldn't be blown away if they don't. Brentford, Oldham Athletic. I think Brentford win that. Brentford are doing really well at the moment. A really good result against Wolves. And the big thing for Brentford is they seem to be really good at punishing teams for making mistakes. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think Brentford will beat Oldham quite comfortably. Sheffield United, Southampton. That's actually got the makings of a decent game. Again, Southampton, they should be going to Sheffield and winning. Sheffield are a tough team to play at home, though. And if you look at how their first season went in the Premier League, they've definitely got some quality about that team. They definitely can pull off their results on the day. But I reckon Southampton will go there and get a win. Preston, Cheltenham. There's a bit of a running joke on this. I don't know if you guys know this. So Preston are a shocking team at home, generally speaking, over the course of history. So just for giggles, I'm going to say Cheltenham are going to go to Preston and win. They probably won't, but just for giggles, because I've got a good mate of mine who's a Preston fan, and we've got a bit of a running joke that they're a better away team than they are a home team. So we'll see how that plays out. Preston probably should win, but I'm going to say Cheltenham will go there and win just because. Norwich, Liverpool. I think Norwich's woes are just going to go from bad to worse on that one. I can't even see that being close, to be fair. Even if Liverpool field a weaker team, I just don't see that going well. Burnley, Rochdale. It should be a pretty straightforward game for Burnley. Where are we? Andrew Kamenu, what do you think of Fulham versus Leeds? It's coming up on my notes. Let me see where that is on my notes. I've got one more and then that one, Andrew, so we'll get to that in a sec. Wigan, Sunderland. Yeah, look, it's at Wigan. I think Wigan win. Sunderland have obviously been an absolute mess of a club for the last few years. I think Wigan win that at home. So rushing into Andy's comment, Fulham, Leeds. It's at Fulham. Fulham aren't a bad team. I'm sure they would be expecting to have been back in the Premier League by now. But I think it's a tough one. Here's my thing with Leeds. I actually like the way Leeds play. I think they're very aggressive and exciting and all that sort of stuff. They can't defend to save their lives, though, and that does leave them vulnerable at the other end. I think Leeds win, but I think Fulham will score, Andy. I think Leeds will win, Fulham will score, maybe like a 3-1. We'll see how that plays out. But, Leeds do leak goals. Watford, Stoke City. I think Watford coming off a good win will go at home against Stoke City. They'll go and get a win there. City versus Wickham. I mean, even without a striker, there's no reason City shouldn't be smashing Wickham. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one, can't we? So that's. Obviously, I've got to go back to the beginning of my notes. Chelsea Villa. Now, it's at Stamford Bridge, and looking at the game we played a couple of weeks ago, Villa pressed us very, very well, particularly in the first half. They were a very tough team to play against. I'm imagining we will rotate the team, given that we've got something like 3 or 4 games in 11 days, something along those lines. I can't remember exactly. but we've got a lot of games in a very short period of time. So I think we will rotate. Villa will probably try to rotate a little bit as well. They just don't have the same depth. So I'm confident we'll get the win. But I do think Villa will make it tough for us, particularly in the first half. At the moment, we seem to be very slow to start, Chelsea. Very slow in the first half, and we come out in the second half, and that's when we do our damage. Whether that's because we're just sort of letting teams come at us and hit us, and we're absorbing it because our defence is very, very good. Whether that's the case, we're just letting them come at us, spend themselves, and then we're hitting them in the second half or what, I don't know. But at the moment, we're not looking very good in the first half of games. It's the second half of games where we're absolutely running over teams. So I think we could see a similar sort of pattern there. Andy, what do you think of the Wigan game? Yeah, Andy, I think we're going to win. It's at home. Sunderland have not been a very good club for a while now. So I think Wigan at home will get a win there, mate. I think Wigan at home should get a win, progress on to the next round. And then I suppose they'll be hoping for a favourable draw from there. But I think Wigan should beat Sunderland at home. Who knows? It's the magic of the cup, mate. Anything can happen, really. So we will see what plays out. In other news, so another story I wanted to chat about, the Messi situation. So who has seen the go with Messi at PSG? So PSG were drawing 1-1 with, I want to say Olympic. Who were they drawing with? I've got to double check my notes. Sorry. But they're drawing 1-1. Pochettino subs Messi off, goes to shake his hand. Messi snubs him, gives him a bit of the grumpy face. But then the most telling part for me, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, is when PSG score the winner with virtually the last kick of the game. The PSG jumps up, like the PSG bench jumps up, they're all happy, look down at Messi, no reaction at all. It's like he couldn't care less. He couldn't care less about the result. He was just still disappointed and annoyed that he'd been subbed off when they were chasing a result. So it's going to be interesting to see what plays out there. Poch has come out and said that Messi has no issues with the decision, but his behaviour sort of suggests otherwise. For me, I think it's poor on Messi's part. Take it in your stride, mate. At the end of the day, yes, you're one of the best players ever, no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, you're not bigger than a club, and you know everyone gets subbed at some point, especially when you're getting into your later years as a footballer. You've got to expect at some point you're going to get substituted in a game. Take it in your stride and set a good example, and he hasn't done that. For me, if my players are doing that to me, they're sitting on the bench for a while until they sort their attitude out. So we'll see. But yeah, very, very, very disappointing from Messi, in my opinion. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Stephen Birch, thoughts on Derby situation? Apparently they've been covering up losses with some creative accounting. Well, yeah, the whole thing at Derby's gone to crap, to put it politely. So obviously, for those of you that haven't heard, Derby County have officially announced they're going into administration. Rooney has said that he's going to help the staff out as much as he can, because it's quite often the staff that get forgotten in these situations. So obviously, the staff are going to be without work for a while, and they've all got sort of bills and incomes and stuff, like bills and mortgages and all that sort of stuff they need to pay for. So Rooney said he's going to do what he can to help out there. Derby have been trying to find someone to buy them for quite a long time now. They haven't had any luck on it. They've had a few close calls. They've had a few almost. And I think that creative accounting could potentially be what's putting people off, Stephen. Worse than I suppose we know about. And there's more going on behind the scenes than what is public knowledge. Then I guess that would put buyers off. So I hope someone does come in and buy Derby. I do. They're a big club. Historically, they're a big club. And, you know, no one wins when a club like that goes into administration and we start losing clubs like that. So I'm sure it'll come good because they do have a massive following. They are a big club. I know they're a championship club, but they are a big club. So yeah, I think they'll come good somehow. Whether that means they have to start back in League Two or however that plays out, we'll see. But yeah, it's an absolute mess down there. There's no way about that. Preston ruled in the late 19th century into the early 20th century. Mr. Bill Shankly played for them. I think they're one of the oldest teams too. Tony, they're one of the founding teams for the English League. So they're one of the first founding teams for the professional league. So they're a very, very old team. And yeah, they were good. They were good back in the day. But yeah, as I said, a good mate of mine. He's a Preston North End fan, and we have a bit of a running joke, like I said, that they're a better away team than they are a home team for some reason. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I think they actually will win. I just like to poke a bit of fun at them. That's all. Messi, bad behaviour in my opinion. Don't show it at least. Retire if you can't be effed, or move to another league or club where you're more passionate. By the way, video stuck on YouTube, audio fine. Yeah, so I was just about to ask about that, Evan. So yeah, absolutely, Messi's behaviour shocking. We'll cover that first. If I'm the coach, and if any of my players are in here, they can tell you this. If I'm the coach and you give me that sass, you're not sitting back on the bench. You're going to get changed and going home, and I don't want to see you until you sort your life out. So that's how I am as a coach. I can be your best friend or your worst enemy. That's how it is. But in my opinion, just because you're messy doesn't give you free license to act like a douche. That's my call. But as for the video, I was going to ask about that because it's stuck here as well. So I might try, if you bear with me for a second, I might try and switch off and switch on the camera. Bear with me a moment. Stephen Birch, Wickham seeking damages for getting relegated, stating Derby should have been docked points last year, meaning Wickham would have stayed up, looking for 20 million. 100% Stephen, I don't understand why the point deduction was delayed or didn't happen last season. I don't get that personally. So, yeah, I can see their point, and I think, to be honest, there's a good chance they win that. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. That's my backup camera, not as good quality. Just switching them, bear with me. Oh, you might not have seen that, hang on. There we go, hopefully camera's back now. Yeah, so as I was saying, Stephen, I think it's going to be a pretty hard argument to say that Wickham don't have a point. I think there's a good chance they win some amount of money. If it's 20 million, I don't know. But given the situation and that there's obviously something dodgy going on with Derby, there's a good argument that Wickham stay up and Derby go down last year, and it doesn't look good, does it? It doesn't look good. I don't know how you argue otherwise. It's poor. It's poor. But yeah, like I said, I do hope someone comes in and fixes that club up. I think they're a big club, and it would be a shame to see that go to crap. Stephen Birch, camera good. That's good. I'm glad we fixed that. Yeah, so it's an absolute mess. I mean, I'm surprised Mr. Gomez isn't in here tonight. I'm sure he'd have something to tell us about it. Maybe he'll pop in. We'll have to wait and see. But Derby, I'm glad you brought it up because it's one of the stories in my notes that I wanted to cover. And yeah, like I said, it's never good when you see a club of that size run that badly. I mean, the owner's come out and put his hands up and said, sorry, I've not run the club well enough and blah, blah, blah. It's my fault. I don't know if he's looking for sympathy or what, but he wouldn't be getting it from many, I would imagine. Jason Costello, hey mate, long time. Hey man, how you doing? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Um, yeah, so like I was saying, it's not good for Derby. It's not good for Derby. And when it's kicking off all these other issues, Stephen, with Wickham, and if Wickham win that, then I'm sure there's going to be some other claims coming out. It's not pretty. It's really not pretty. But time will tell what plays out there. Because the other question is, Derby goes into administration. If they're not paying fees and stuff like that. Who knows how this plays out? Stephen, Eddie's thought on Celtic Livingston. Oh, mate. Jason, hell yeah, mate. 2 years of being engaged and have a little one now, and you. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. Yeah, no, just working in football, mate. Working in football and trying to do this stream. So, yeah, not much to report, especially with lockdown and stuff, but it is what it is. Yeah, and then Eddie's thoughts on Ange now, because I think Celtic have gone and lost 4 of their first 5 games. So what looked like a really bright start from Ange has suddenly turned sour. In the subject of Aussie managers, Harry Kewell's been sacked again. He seems to be good at that from a 7th division side. So just seems to be a guy that his name seems to get him jobs that he can't live up to, whether that's something to do with the coaching staff he's got. I'm not sure, but Harry Kewell has been sacked again. So he'll be on the lookout for a job. It's crazy times. It's crazy times in football. Ange struggling. Juventus over in the Serie A not having a great time at all. I think they're sitting in 18th or something like that. Very similar situation to Celtic in terms of results since Ronaldo left. Yeah, it's an interesting time in the world. It's a very interesting time in the world. Obviously, Barcelona not looking like the dominant force they used to be. Yeah, crazy times. Crazy times. I don't know if Eddie's still around. Eddie, you still about? But yeah, it's been a weird one. Let me see what else I had in my notes. Give me a second. Trying to keep up with chat and notes, you sort of lose your spot and it gets a bit crazy. So yeah, I mean, in other news, as far as the Scottish Premier League is concerned, I've got some notes on that. Thinking Eddie might be in here. So Scottish Premier League, Rangers are top of the table. So at the moment, the defence of their title is looking okay. Celtic are down in 6th place. They're 4 points behind Rangers. Dundee, bottom of the table. But yeah, so Rangers are on top by a point. Hearts and Motherwell very closely behind them. Dundee also pretty close behind. The Hibs are in 2nd. So it's a tight race at the top. But yeah, Celtic falling off the pace and and for some good news, Aussie Gillett gets his first Premier League game this weekend. Ah, does he? Is he? They already announced he's starting, have they? I must have missed that one. But yeah, that's at least there's some positive stuff coming out. Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, in other good news for Australia is Sam Kerr's off to another good start in the Women's Premier League, or the Women's Super League, or however you want to say it. So Sam Kerr's off to a good start for Chelsea. She's playing well again. For some reason, her and Frank Kirby just seem to be telepathic. They just seem to get each other. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, they just seem to be on the same page at all times, which is crazy. So, Stephen Birch, yep. Oh, cool. Good on him. That's awesome. I'll keep an eye out for that one as well. But yeah, it looks like Eddie's taken off. Yeah, so we won't get his feedback today, I guess. We'll look for that on Thursday. But I will start wrapping it up because I do need to head off shortly. But yeah, so as I said, Thursday should be our first show with an interview / co-host. We're going to do a combination special there. So that we'll try and get that sorted out over tonight and tomorrow, ready to go for Thursday. So that should add a little bit something different to the show. So looking forward to that. It will be the same time, 7 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Get that allocated with Waffle Game. Oh, yeah, awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, so as I was saying, Thursday, tune in. Bit of history for the show. It'll be the first time we have an interview / co-host. And then, assuming that all goes well, I'll start to get that stuff ticking over more regularly, getting some more people involved, getting some different content happening, just for some different sort of perspective and information and stuff for you guys to keep things interesting. So eventually just looking at me talking crap all the time is going to get boring, so I want to mix it up. So yeah, Thursday will be the first time we've got someone on for that. First overseas person to referee in the Premier League. Didn't I'm sure there was a guy from the A-League a couple of seasons ago that went to the Premier League. I can't think of his name now. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find the story. Maybe it wasn't the Premier League. Maybe you can think of who I'm thinking of, Steve. I'm sure a few years ago they mic'd up a ref in the A-League because he was heading off overseas and it was his last A-League game. Because he'd been outstanding referee. And they mic'd him up because he was heading off overseas. So it was his last game. Who am I thinking of? I'm sure I've seen that. Stephen Burch reported on BBC site. Thanks for that, Dodge Hype. That's amazing. Bit of spam in there. I suppose that's how you know you've made it, is it? Get a bit of spam happening from Twitch. That's all right. Reported on BBC site. Yeah, so I'm looking at it, and Jared Gillett, Australian to become first overseas Premier League referee. Absolutely, I'm going to look into this, Stephen. I'll try and have an answer for you by Thursday. I'm certain, not the Premier League, obviously, but he must have gone somewhere else. But I'm sure, absolutely sure, I saw a referee get mic'd up a couple of seasons ago because he was heading overseas. Anyway, I'll look into that. I'll look into it. Before we head off, I better come up with a Dream Team theme. So, what should we do? What have we done so far? We did week 1, we did Spanish, all time. Let's do, what was the one that Christopher guy wanted? Let's go, we've got a Premier League Dream Team for the last decade. So from, we'll say 2011 to 2021. So that'll be our Dream Team theme. I'll come up with a Dream Team for that for Thursday. So I'd love to hear from you guys as well what yours would be. So players from 2011 to 2021 in the Premier League, best 11. All right, so that'll be our Dream Team theme. I'll regret this when I start sitting down and thinking about it and all the people I'm missing out on. Ahil Saviri. Oh, we are blessed. How are you, Ahil? How you doing, mate? Hope you're doing well. So Hill, I want to hear your Dream Team theme for this as well. Best Premier League 11 from 2011 to 2021. That decade there, the best 11 players you can come up with. Probably same person as he's been a referee in UK since 2019. It might have been him then, Stephen, and he just hasn't refed in the Premier League yet. Maybe that's the case. But yeah, I remember the A-League making a big deal out of it. And he is a top ref, to be fair. Top ref. So yeah, Ahil, Thursday, 7 o'clock, we'll be back. I want your Dream Team, all right? yeah, so that should be a good challenge. 2011, 2021, best 11 you can come up with for the Premier League. And that'll just about wrap it up, guys. I've got to head off and get some stuff done. So it's been a good show again. I really enjoyed it. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for them ones at Hill. And yeah, just remember, guys, it is tough times for everybody, so please reach out. There was actually a very, very good post on Facebook I saw today. Grand final. So the AFL Grand Final, there'll be 44 players taking the field, fighting it out for AFL glory, whatever that is. Fighting it out for AFL glory. In that same week, 44 men will commit suicide due to the circumstances at the moment. Very sad, very downer, I know, but it's just to emphasize that point. Please reach out to your friends, see if they're okay. If you're struggling, going through a hard time, reach out. You can reach out to me, reach out to your friends, reach out to your family, get professional help. There is no shame in it. You are valued. So please reach out and get help if you're struggling. Stay safe and come back and have a good time. But yeah, thanks everyone for popping in. Hill, thanks for popping in at the end there. Thursday, that's your homework. I'm going to put it up on the chat. I want to see some top, the team chat, Hill. I'm going to put it up on there. I want to see some teams from you boys. But yeah, thanks guys. Reach out, check in on each other, stay together, and we'll get through these tough times together. Much love, be good, stay safe.